Alrighty, everybody. Hello and welcome to my 100 subscriber special. I am so excited to finally be putting this video out. I know I'm standing here in Pokemon Violet, but this video will not be taking place in Violet. I just needed a little intro. But anyways, I want to first of all say thank you to all of the people who have subscribed and followed along with my channel so far. We wouldn't be doing this video without you because there'd be no one to be celebrating if there was no one subscribed. So, gotta make sure I thank everybody that has subscribed and stuck with the channel so far. Keep an eye out. We'll be doing some more. We'll be keeping chugging away throughout the new year. But yeah, today we are going to be doing, as I'm sure you can tell from the title, a Pokemon Showdown tournament. I got together some friends, and we had a little tournament. No, like, stakes or prize or anything on the line, just for funs, just for laughs. And, yeah, I want to show you how that went down. So, without further ado, let us head over into the bracket. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here is the bracket. Feel free to pause if you want a better look at it, because we are getting straight into the first battle, Runic Idiot versus Pearl Bomber. Yeah, let's let it begin. We got an Altaria lead up against Cinderace lead. Don't mind this little cut. This is just so I can fix the screen a little bit. But yeah, now let's get into the actual battle. We got a U-turn from Cinderace, and now he's going to switch into something else. We got Cloyster up, and then Dragon Dance from Altaria. And then up next, we got a Perish Song from Altaria, and then Icicle Spear is going to just absolutely destroy Altaria, no questions asked there. But Cloyster is now perished. Out comes Electivire with a air balloon. Screen is going to adjust again real quick as Cloyster terrestrializes into ground, which prevents Volt Switch from working. And then Icicle Spear pops the air balloon and almost finishes off Electivire, who is going to switch out for Bastiodon, which will eat that Icicle Spear no problem. And Cloyster is forced to switch into Ditto, which is going to copy Bastiodon, who sets up Stealth Rock, who then has Stealth Rock set up against them, as Runic sets up Sandstorm. Pearl switches back to... both of them switch to a Fire Starter. We'll just go with that. We got a Zen Headbutt, which is going to absolutely obliterate Blaziken. Libero changing Cinderace to Psychic type. I went ahead and typed in chat here, only dropping a cheeky F. Out comes Dusknoir, who is going to avoid Sucker Punch by setting up Trick Room. And this is where things get interesting. Sucker Punch is going to fail again as Destiny Bond gets set up. It is going to switch out as Curse gets set up as well. Serperior getting damaged from the Curse, and Dusknoir going for a Focus Punch while Serperior sets up with Leech Seed. I was told after that was a misclick. Runic did not actually mean to click Focus Punch, but it worked out for him in the end. In comes Scolipede. Bastiodon is also going to come back in. In comes Cinderace again. Trick Room is down. Annihilate enters the field for the first time, only to take a large amount of damage from Pyro Ball, and then be finished off by a successing Pyro Ball. I type a cheeky rip in chat. Bastiodon comes out and avoids Pyro Ball, gets a little damage off with Avalanche, probably expecting a switch there. And up next, Pyro Ball does large damage as Sandstorm gets set back up. In comes Electivire to only go down to the Stealth Rocks. Very unfortunate. In comes Dusknoir, only to take large damage from the rocks. And go down to a Pyro Ball, leaving Runic with only one lone Bastiodon left, who takes a little damage from rocks and then goes down to a Pyro Ball. And that was Battle 1. Here is the result. Runic versus Pearl Bomber ended in Pearl Bomber victory. And on to the next battle. We now have Asaw versus Megatron. Asaw going for the Chine Pow, Megatron going for the Corviknight. Very strong leads. Body Slam, sizable damage. Avalanche, significant damage. A little leftover recovery. Ice Spinner almost finishing off Corv. Brave Bird taking out both of them. In comes Annihilate and Dragapult. Dragapult going for the Dragon Pulse. Close combat missing because of an unfortunate type miscalculation. Acrobatics doing large damage. Fire Punch doing not much damage. Acrobatics for the KO on Annihilate. In comes Appleton, who does not take that Dragon Pulse well at all. Great Tusk up next. Eats the Dragon Pulse pretty well and does sizable damage with Earthquake. Into Terra Ground to finish it off with another Earthquake. Out comes Regieleki. Very unfortunate choice there. Not to throw shade, but these two players were a little less skilled than some of the rest. Just haven't played as many Pokemon games and need a bit more practice. Nothing bad, nothing against that. Just saying what's going on. Anyways, we had a little infestation, a little earthquake, a little lunge action going on. Araquanid doing pretty sizable chip damage and taking these ground type moves pretty well. Almost finishing off Great Tusk with a Bug Buzz and taking it out with the infestation damage. In comes Corviknight on the other side to finish off Araquanid with a Drill Peck. In comes Clodsire now, which Corviknight pretty much completely walls. Corviknight doing large damage while taking none from either of Clodsire's attacks. That low skill bar coming in, very crucial here. Clodsire healing up with a berry. Unfortunately, it was the wrong berry, so it led to confusion. Clodsire going down very, very slowly, getting taken off by a Drill Peck while on 1 HP. In comes Ferrothorn, and this is where the tanks collide. Neither one can do very sizable damage to each other, and they need to just very slowly whittle each other down. Gyro Ball doing pretty decent damage, however, and Iron Head not, while also causing recoil damage because of Iron Thorns. So Ferrothorn slowly whittling down this Corviknight. The leftovers barely keeping Corviknight alive, prolonging the inevitable more than anything, as Ferrothorn stays above half health and continues to drop Corviknight lower and lower, doing little bits of damage here and there, taking a flinch. Unfortunately, it's not going to be much of a difference as Corviknight gets closer and closer to fainting. Oh, sorry about that. And, oh, there we go. Flash Cannon and Gyro Ball for the knockout on Corviknight. In comes the last Pokemon, which is very hard countered by Ferrothorn. Not going to do much damage with Play Rough. Damage from Iron Barbs. Giga Drain, pretty decent damage and some healing. And that is going to slowly be the, oh yes, the freeze, the almost turnaround with the freeze that allows for a little bit more damage from Azumarill, but does not last long enough, unfortunately. And a eventually Azumarill does go down after one last Ice Beam, but it is not enough, and Ferrothorn gets the victory. Here is the summary for how that battle went. Megatron moving on to face Pearl Bomber in round 3. And now, it's time for my battle. My first battle. Hint, hint. I lead with Glamora into D-Rob Prob's Entei. I go for a Stealth Rock on turn 1 to get a little extra support going. I take an Extreme Speed, which Rocky Helmet does a little damage, setting in the Extreme Speed, proccing my Toxic Debris. I go for a Reflect the next turn to take less damage from these physical attacks. Flare Bits, proccing Rocky Helmet and Toxic Debris again. I'm just going to slowly set up my screens to keep my team nice and tanky while slowly whittling down Entei, and then going for a Memento to drop his stats and take out my own Glamora because it has done its job nicely. And now, in comes Annihilate. I don't really think I used Annihilate too well, unfortunately. Yeah, a misread there caused my counter to not work, and then my Scarf caused some problems. Switching out caused counter to miss again. My Reflect is now worn off as well. I go for a switch, which then uses up my last turn of Light Screen. Take really sizable damage from a crit Earthquake, and pretty much need to switch out Cyclozar immediately because I cannot Shed Tail from this health range. So in comes the Dunsparce, which I put on as kind of a meme and ended up being really strong. So yeah, we're going to go for a nice juicy body press with my high defense to do pretty sizable damage, and then the toxic damage will finish off Baxcalibur. In comes Diancie, who immediately gets poisoned, toxic poisoned even. Now we go for the big, the juicy, the counter. I almost Terra Fighting, but don't in the end. Just barely hang on and take out Diancie with a big counter. Very good play from me there, if I do say so myself. Now, unfortunately, the Dunsparce can't really do anything at this point, so I just go ahead and let him go down to Garchomp because he's done his job. He's got his counter off. That was what he meant to do. Now, Cyclozar comes back out after healing up from Regenerator and immediately switches back out with his special move, Shed Tail. He's not the only one that learns this move, but he's one of 2 Pokemon to learn it, so pretty much the only one. In comes Skeledirge, who dodges with a substitute, who dodges Fire Blast. I realized at this point I meant to have Sing instead of Yawn, so that was an oopsie on my part. Nothing I can do about it now. We evade Double Edge because we're Ghost. Go for a big Hex, which does extra damage because of being poisoned. Charizard comes in, takes large damage from Stealth Rocks, avoids the Toxic Spikes because he's a Flying type, however. I go for a Yawn because I don't have a condition on him, which would have been better to go for Sing because I had Blunder Policy on this Skeledirge. I go for a Torch Song to get a little damage off and also boost my special attack, which it doesn't KO. However, Solar Power does the job for me and picks up the knockout. Entei comes back in, takes big damage, and gets Toxic Poisoned. Skeledirge in a very good spot here. I can just go for a nice Hex for some big damage. E-Speed misses because I'm a Ghost type, and down goes Entei as well. And out comes the final Pokemon, the Ditto, who does not have Imposter, so needs to spend a turn transforming, which gives me time to go for a Yawn, which I hoped would trigger my Blunder Policy. Unfortunately, it didn't, but it wasn't really a big deal because now I can go for Hex, which will do more damage because the Ditto is poisoned. They also go for Hex. I barely live,
and pick up the knockout with the boosted hex damage from the poison. Now, here is the summary of how that battle went. D-Rob's Probs versus Crispu ends up with Crispu in the lead. Now, on to the final battle of round 1. J-Man versus Anazea. So, out comes Aegislash and another Glimora lead. Aegislash goes for a King Shield. Glimora substitute. Aegislash goes for Shadow Ball, which is going to break the substitute. Glimora going for Reflect. Another Shadow Ball, doing sizable damage. Light Screen coming up from Glimora. Another Shadow Ball. Glimora just barely holding on. We're burning a turn with Reflect and going down to a Flash Cannon on the following turn. Up next, we have Chine Pow, who is going to go for a Throat Chop, KOing Aegislash, who was in his Blade stance. Out comes Grimace Snarl, who's going to take sizable damage from Icicle Crash before taking out Chime Pow with a Hammer Arm. That ×4 weakness doing work. Out comes Meowscarada, who is going to pick up the KO on Grimace Snarl with a nice Flower Trick. In comes Charizard, who is going to Mega Y, set up the Sun, and barely take any damage from Flower Trick before taking out Meowscarada with a Flamethrower. Up next, Diancie comes in and Mega Evolves as well. Charizard goes for a nice Protect as Diancie Diamond Storms. The Protect blocking Diancie from getting its boost. However, not Flamethrower doesn't do enough damage, and Diancie goes for another Diamond Storm and gets its boost. Out comes Veluza, who goes for a Liquidation, which does not do enough damage after the +2 defense. Veluza taking big damage from Moonblast, but barely hanging on. Going for a Recover, but it is just not enough, unfortunately. Up next, Landorus T, who goes for an Earth Power and takes out the Mega Diancie. Up next, we have another Charizard, who goes for Air Slash and goes down to a Stone Edge from Lando. Up next, the last Pokemon, the old Mousehold, who goes for Population Bomb and picks up a nice easy KO on the low health Lando. Out comes Regieleki, who goes for Electro Ball, barely does any damage, honestly, and then goes down to a following Population Bomb. And that was round 1. So here is the bracket of how that battle turned out. And then as well, I also have here the bracket of the whole tournament now. So go ahead and take a little pause here. Here's how we're looking after all of the round 1 battles. And now we'll hop into a extra battle. This is a little random battle that I did with Pearl Bomber while we were killing some time. So yeah, let's just do this. We got Sandy Shocks and Regidrago. I go for a Stealth Rock, take big damage from Earthquake. Go for a Thunder Wave, which immediately comes in clutch. And then I go for an Earth Power to get some damage in before going down. Another Paralyze, doing big work there. Another Earth Power, get it to about half health before going down to Outrage. Next, I send out Gardevoir, copy its ability, which isn't too useful necessarily, and pick up the KO with Moonblast. Almost, actually, sorry, because I didn't. However, it was locked into Outrage, which wouldn't do anything because I was a Fairy type. Now I pick up the KO with Moonblast. Yeah, in comes Corviknight, which will do sizable damage to this, so I am pretty much forced to switch out. And I switch into Miraidon, who sets up Electric Terrain and pops. Does he not have Electric Seed? Nope, I guess he doesn't. Never mind. Take a Brave Bird, which doesn't do that much damage to me. I go for the signature move Electro Drift, which Cinderace does not take very well. In comes Koraidon. Now I'm locked into Electro Drift, so I switch back to Gardevoir, so that way I can go for ×4 super effective Moonblast. However, Koraidon Terra fires and is now no longer weak to Fairy. So, yeah, and has Stab Flare Blitz. So, Gardevoir goes down. However, now he's weak to water. So I send in Veluza and go for Terra Water to boost my damage to make up for the sun, decreasing water damage, and do pretty decent damage with Aqua Jet. However, I take substantial damage from Outrage before picking up the KO with Aqua Jet on the following turn. Sun is now almost over. Corviknight coming in, taking some more rock damage. I want to keep this Veluza alive, so I'm going to go ahead and switch it out. I'm going to switch out to Skuntank. Take negligible damage from Body Press before launching off a Fire Blast, I think. Yes, there we go. Sorry. Fire Blast doing large damage to Corviknight, allowing Brave Bird Recoil to knock itself out. In comes Fire-type Oricorio. I am going to go for a Gunk Shot. Revelation Dance, however, taking me out before I can get it off. I go back to Veluza, where this is the Fire Oricorio. However, he switches to Farigiraf, which is immune to priority attacks. I did not know what that ability did, so here you will see me use a nice feature of Showdown, where I look up what that ability does, and it tells me, and now I realize I am forced to switch out, because I am choiced into a priority move. So I send in Iron Jugulis, who immediately takes large damage from a Hyper Voice. I go for Dark Pulse, however, it is protected. I go for Dark Pulse again and do large damage the following turn, barely hanging on from the second Hyper Voice, sorry. Go for Dark Pulse the following turn, however, Protect lands again, and then I go for Dark Pulse 1/4 time and take out Farigiraf, leaving just this Oricorio left. I go for a Dark Pulse again and do sizable damage before going down to Revelation Dance. And now in comes Veluza, who is Terra Water, to pick up the KO with Aqua Jet. Now, on to the regularly scheduled next battle. So, this is Pearl Bomber versus Megatron, the result of battle, or the second round. Dragapult instantly going down to a very boosted Sucker Punch. Corviknight taking large damage from Pyro Ball, and then going down to a second one. Araquanid coming in. Cinderace switching out with a U-turn into Scolipede, who takes large damage from Liquidation before going for a Rock Slide, which does not KO the Araquanid, letting it pick up a KO with Liquidation. In comes Mousehold once again to Population Bomb. Another target. Mousehold is so strong. Population Bomb working its way through many of Megatron's Pokemon, however, unfortunately, that is. The Berry kicking in and just barely keeping Clodsire alive. However, where it was the wrong one, the Confusion kicked in and KO'd Clodsire. Mousehold going for a Thunder Wave on Ferrothorn, taking an Energy Ball. Switching out to Cinderace, who takes another Energy Ball pretty well before KOing Ferrothorn with Pyro Ball, leaving only Regieleki left, who takes out Cinderace with Thunderbolts, takes out Mousehold with Thunderbolts, but is unable to KO Serperior, and is, however, able to dodge Leaf Storm, but still not able to KO Serperior, and going down to Terra Leaf Storm, Overgrow boosted as well on the following turn. So here is the result of the end of that round 2 battle. Pearl Bomber going on to the finals. And now, onto my round 2 battle, where I use a different team. This was allowed by our rules. I was the only one who really took use of it, but yeah, this spoiler alert, this team came to bite me in the back. I go for a Shed Tail while Diancie Mega Evolves. I switch into Crocodile. This is where I realize a large mistake. I thought I would be able to Dynamax. I was not. That ruined my whole strategy. This Crocodile was meant to Dynamax, because I knew that Z-moves and Mega existed in National decks. I naively thought Dynamax still existed alongside Terrestrialize. It does not. That threw me into a panic which just spiraled out of control very, very quickly. So Crocodile goes down. In comes Alola Raichu. I go for... pretty sure I go for the Z move here. Yep, go for a Stoked Spark Surfer because oh no, I go for the Electric Terrain first and go down to Diamond Storm, realizing I should have gone for Stoked Spark Surfer because now that was completely wasted. So up next, I send in Cyclizar again. Yep, who is healed up with Regenerator. I Shed Tail out once again, and this time send in Garchomp, who survives the Moonblast with the substitute, and then I go for Terra Ground and an Earthquake, so that way I am no longer weak to Fairy and have a boost, and am able to take out the Mega Diancie. This, however, is where everything falls apart. I did not use any mega or any legendaries on my team. This thing, Chine Pow, is very, very strong, and I did not have any counters for it. So I kinda just slowly lost, and there wasn't really anything that I could do about it. So yeah, I just slowly watch my whole team faint. And yeah, it wasn't a great time. But I still had a good time anyways, playing in the tournament and hanging out with all of my buds. And obviously, we weren't going to stop here because we still had another battle to do. So here was the result from the second round 2 battle. And here is the final bracket going into the end. Take another pause if you want to. And real quick, we are going to do another extra battle. This was a Gen 8 random multi-battle that Runic, Pearl, Anazea, and myself all did. And yeah, it was a good time. So I had Xurkitree and Anazea had Dracozolt up against Carbink and Reuniclus. I was very confused as to what was going on and accidentally used Volt Switch on my own teammate, and then switch into Swampert. Dracozolt goes for high horsepower on Kingdra, Swampert taking a Shadow Ball from Reuniclus. This time I go for a Stealth Rock to get that set up just to help us out in the long run. Dracozolt going down to Draco Meteor after doing a little damage with high horsepower. Swampert taking more damage from Shadow Ball, but healing up with a Berry. Out comes Weavile as my new teammate. I go for a Liquidation on Reuniclus. Yeah. And do... however, it goes down to knockoff before I can move, and the Carbink who switches in takes large damage from the liquidation. Out comes Leafeon as our new enemy. I go for... This time I'm not sure what exactly I went for here. Do I switch? Yeah, I might. Yeah, this is where I switched to my Blossom, the third Pokemon I had. Because at where it is a random multi-battle, instead of having 6 whole Pokemon, you only have 3, and your partner also has 3, because it's a double battle. So, yeah, slightly different from the regular random battles, but still pretty fun. And unfortunately, at the time of recording this, Gen 9 random multi-battles were not out yet. I'm not even sure if they're out yet or not still. But yeah, either way. Weavile going down as Bellossom sets up a Quiver Dance. In comes Mamoswine. I contemplate going for another Quiver Dance, but end up going for Energy Ball on Carbink. Mamoswine taking a knockoff. Carbink going down to Energy Ball. And Leafeon going down to Icicle Crash. Pearl Bomber sends out his last Pokemon. Reunic revealing his last Pokemon. It is currently Anazea's turn to Dynamax, so I go for a Strength Sap on Tyranitar to keep its attack lowered, while also healing up a little bit as it Dynamaxes. Mamoswine going for high horsepower, doing pretty decent damage as Tyranitar heals with Citrus Berry and goes for Ice Beam on... No, Blastoise went for Ice Beam, Tyranitar went for Max Flare, sorry. This turn where I can Dynamax, take the advantage or take the opportunity to, and go ahead and go for a Max Overgrow on T-Tar with boosted and taking it out, now making everything a 2 against 1 as Blastoise takes damage from high horsepower and then sets up a Shell Smash with White Herb to mitigate the reduced stats. Blastoise, however, going down to a Max Overgrow on the following turn. In comes Kingdra on, I think this is my last turn. Yeah, this is my last turn of Dynamax. In comes Kingdra, who goes down to a Max Starfall. But yeah, that was a fun little battle. I hope you all enjoyed that. And without further ado, let us prepare for the final battle of the tournament. Ooh. Alrighty, here we go. The final battle. An Anazea versus Pearl Bomber. We have Glamora up front, going for Reflect, going down immediately to double Iron Bash from Melmetal. However, the 2 hits, both proccing Rocky Helmet and setting up double layers of Toxic Spikes. Incoming Charizard as it Pearl switches to Cinderace. Zen Headbutt, landing a flinch on Charizard, not once, but twice. So that name coming in very, very true on Charizard right now. The third Zen Headbutt not landing a flinch, and Cinderace goes down to Flamethrower where it was Psychic type. In comes Ditto, who transforms into Charizard and takes it out, however, is Toxic Poisoned. In comes Diancie as Pearl switches to Melmetal. Diancie going for Diamond Storm and getting a +2 defense, and then going for Body Press. However, Melmetal living on 1% and going for double Iron Bash, KOing the Diancie. Chien-Pao coming in and taking out the KO on the 1 health Melmetal. Ditto coming back in, transforming into Chien-Pao. Chien-Pao going for Terra Fairy as the enemy goes for Sacred Sword. And Isaiah also going for Sacred Sword after living being Terra Fairy. Next, going for Icicle Crash on the Scolipede. Scolipede taking out the Fairy type with its Poison Jab. In comes Mousehold, who just barely lives a Mega Horn and is able to pick up the knockout on the Scolipede. In comes Cloyster, who uh, does not outspeed the mouse hold and takes very sizable damage, uh, almost going down to the population bomb, but it only hit 8 times and then taking out the mouse with Icicle Spear. Incoming Meowscarada, who picks up the KO with Flower Trick, leaving it down to a 1v1 of Grass Starter v Grass Starter. Superior going for the Terra Grass, getting big damage on Leaf Storm. Meowscarada, however, picking up a crit knockout, giving Anazea the win. Alrighty, and there we have it, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the tournament. Congratulations once again to Anazea for winning the final battle and all of his other battles as well. Here is on screen right now the final bracket. Go ahead and take a pause if you want to get a good look at it. And yeah, I just want to say once again, thank you to everybody who has subscribed. It means a lot to me. We wouldn't have put this video out without you guys because there wouldn't have been anything to celebrate. I did already say that, so won't bother saying it too many more times. But yeah, thank you everybody who has subscribed. It means a lot. And I hope you stay subscribed and share with more people so that way we can continue to grow this community nice and large. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell so that way you can see when I upload and stream, and share with a friend so that way we can get more people in and we can do more surprising or more big projects for more celebrating milestones. But yeah, once again, thank you everybody, and I will see you all in the next video or stream that you decide to tune into.